Hello and welcome to the 13th edition of the Bookbreakrs podcast. With me are the two lads, the fountains of reason, Paul and Enda. How are you boys?
Very good, very good.
All good, all good.
Cool. So this week we're going to be talking about relegation in the Premier League. So in the last episode, the lads gave us their idea of the Premier League winners and who will fill the European places. Tonight we're going to talk about relegation. So without further ado, really, we'll just jump straight into it. So let's kick off with you, Paul. Do you want to give us your three relegation candidates? So we're going to do three relegation candidates and then someone you think might get dragged into it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if there was anybody out there who didn't think Norwich were going to be relegated. They're like, really, yeah, really, you couldn't possibly think that they're going to stay up.
Yeah,
They're absolutely, their approach to Premier League football is haphazard to say the least. I read something the other day. I think it was Alex Crook on Talksport. He accused them of defrauding the Premier League. In that, I think I'm sure somebody from Norwich said, or somebody, yes, so, I don't think it was like anyone at a high level, but somebody said they consider them like a top 24 team, and they're quite happy to be a top 24 team. In that they'll almost certainly always be relegated when they get promoted, and they'll almost certainly be in the promotion shake-up when they do get relegated. So effectively, they're just hitting the Premier League for the parachute payments time and time again, coming up, spending very little money, not really putting up much of a fight. And I think Daniel Farke's approach, he doesn't seem to have learned anything from the last time during the Premier League. I mean,
I would counter that a little bit. Like they've started off against City and Liverpool, right? And like they haven't done that well, obviously. But I just think I think they've good players in their squad. And when I looked at it, I've got three teams ahead of them anyway. They might be my fourth, but
Same as.
that they've held on to Cantwell, who I think is a top player. They've got Handley at the back, Krul in goal is experienced. They've Rudd as well, who's a solid keeper. They've signed Billy Gilmore, centre of the field, could bring lots to that side. They lost Buendia, definitely miss him. He was probably player of the championship last season, but
they brought Brandon Williams in as well. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and they've Aaron's on the other side as well, who's a nippy kind of left back, I think he is. So I think they've enough. And what do you think?
I think the exact same. They bought a fella called Solis from PAOK for night. They spent money, like they're by no means I don't know what you said about the guy from Norwich saying they're accepting that they're going up and down. I don't think they have. They've spent they've got two guys from Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga, so that's Farke using his knowledge, a striker and a winger. 9 million. They bought a goalie off of Angus Gunn from Burnley, actually, for 8 million. Like, they've spent money. I think that the key signing for them, for me, why they will stay up. Now, I have a question mark on whether they will stay up. I'll have them either fourth or going down. So, like, it'll be the skin in their teeth if they do, and I think they might just, right? Billy Gilmore in front of that back four for me. Yes, they've been off for the first two games, but like their fixture list has been terrible, and like I think they will play enough to beat Burnley. They will play enough to beat Crystal Palace and all these kind of teams, and that'll be what will keep them up.
And just as we speak, they're playing in the EFL Cup and they're winning 6-0
against Bournemouth. Yeah, I mean, I will put my proverbial on the block. Yeah, and I will do any reasonable forfeit. Yeah.
Okay.
If Norwich City stay in the Premier League, yeah.
And let's catch up offline and decide what.
Yeah, you have a bit of time to think about that. But there's absolutely no way that they are going to stay in the Premier League. There is not a chance, lads. Absolutely.
Yeah, like
So
they're
certainly
in.
their net spend, by the way, I'd have to say, is less than 20 million. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
take out the Buendia funds, and I know Enda loves to go on about net spend, so I think that's fairly relevant in this instance. The last time they were in the Premier League, they spent less than 2 million.
Yeah, but are they playing?
They've bought,
Are they playing that game of like West Brom would be more culpable of that than Norwich, but are they playing that game, or are they just actually being a sensible football club and managing their
Well,
finances?
I think
it may well be that.
I think they are being a sensible football club and managing their finances, but I think they've bought to stay up. I mean, they've bought some quality players, like, and they've spent decent money.
Yeah.
If you look at, say, Burnley, who haven't spent anything.
Yeah, and the
Anyway.
other point then is Fark has been through relegation with them, so
Yeah,
that has to be a bonus of being through it and knowing then
yeah.
what's needed. Who else have you got, Paul?
I have gone for Southampton for various reasons. Notwithstanding that United drew with them at the weekend, but I mean, I'll be honest, they have sold some of their best players. They've managed, if they manage to hold on to James Ward-Prowse, I think I know he signed a new contract, but that's irrelevant, really, isn't it? You know, let's be honest. I read something today that Messi is already speaking to Inter Miami about when his PSG contract ends in 2 years. So I mean, contracts in football are irrelevant. I think losing Danny Ings is going to hit them harder than they think. Adam Armstrong, I think, will probably score goals for them, but they've lost some key players. They've lost that what's his name?
Vestergaard.
Vestergaard, yeah.
They sold him for nothing as well.
Yeah. I'm just not a fan of Ralph Hasenhüttl for some reason. I think we spoke about it last week off air. Any manager who, granted there was red cards involved, but loses 9-0 twice. I mean, there's red cards every week in football. How many teams lose? Many of those teams lose 9-0. I think to survive in your job, having two 9-0 defeats inflicted on you in the space of, I think, was a year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean,
19 out of the last 26 games they've lost.
Yeah. I mean, that's a poor record, lads.
And that point they got against, like, United, they've always been a bogey team for United. They've always caused us problems, and I
thought United were going to change the jerseys at half time or something.
Yeah,
they should have done.
Yeah,
because they were shocking.
Yeah. Change the team maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so Saints go down. I've got the Saints down as well. Who's your third?
I'm gonna go for Crystal Palace. I'm not entirely sure that. I think they probably will be relegated this season. I think maybe as a long-term project, it might work out for Vieira. I mean, he's relatively new to football management, but I have the feeling that he has a good idea what he wants to do with his team. It's going to be difficult for them. The sheer quantity of first-team players they lost this summer, experienced first-team players. A lot of them went on a free, out of contract and so on. But they brought in some good young players. But again, they're all like, between 18 and 21, I think. And it might be a long-term project there, but I don't think he'll be able to turn it around this season.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Anyone who's gonna get dragged into it come March time?
The usual suspects will be hovering around. Newcastle will be thereabouts. Should be good enough to stay up. Watford, I think, have enough quality that they should be able to get out of it. But I mean, one team that I would worry about if I wasn't a United fan is Leeds. You and I spoke about it. One of the things that I feel could become an issue for them, and we discussed previously, was a slight.
Paul,
sorry, go on.
Before you go ahead, when you went through this last week off air, it was an Illuminati moment. I felt like you had unearthed something here. So go on.
Yeah, I mean.
No, I mean it.
Bielsa plays high intensity football, yeah. And there's, there was evidence in the season before they got promoted to the Premier League, where they were virtually promoted, and the fact that they just totally ran out of steam at the end of the season, and this happened with Liverpool as well. I mean, Klopp plays high intensity football, and I think they suffered burnout to a degree, and it comes down to picking up injuries as well. It's
Well, the
there
two
is
are
a limit.
related, aren't they?
Well, yeah, 100% they are, yeah, and I think that'll be something that could catch Leeds out. They seem to be able to hold on to Bamford and Calvin Phillips, which I wasn't 100% sure they would, but there doesn't seem to be any big bids coming in for them.
Yeah.
But
But
the rest of that
even
team,
Bamford, Paul, but Bamford's not like,
Bamford's middle of the road, like.
yeah, he's not
You
clinical.
know,
you know?
Calvin Phillips, I can see it, but Bamford, no.
But this is the thing. This is the problem with Leeds. I mean, they're heavily reliant on a middle of the road striker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't believe they have that quality throughout the team. I do believe they will pick up points. Whether or not they pick up enough points is, I put it this way. I think there's three worse teams than them. But if burnout comes into it towards the end of the season,
Where do Burnley come in this?
I don't know. No danger. Really,
come
honestly,
on,
for me,
Paul.
no, I
Come
really don't
on,
think there
Paul.
is.
Come
really
on,
don't
lads.
think there
You're
is.
saying Leeds are worse than Burnley. You're
No.
telling me Leeds are worse than Burnley.
No,
I'm
he's putting out a wild card,
Well,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
a
not.
really wild card.
No,
now.
it is, but the
Yeah.
the reason for it being that I do think they could start to suffer from burnout with Bielsa, and I'm not. Is Bielsa really committed to the cause there? Do you think it's a project that he believes in? Do you think he's going to push Leeds onto the next level?
Is
I
he
don't
committed
believe
to
so.
any cause?
Well, look,
I think he goes somewhere,
exactly.
he stays there maximum 3-4 years, and he doesn't leave in acrimony because he's improved the club. He'll forever be a legend in Leeds because of that. But I mean, he's on a 1-year contract.
It's a very good. It's a gung ho style of football, though, isn't it?
It is. It is.
They could win 4-0 or lose 4-0.
Exactly.
I think like if Phillips stays fit, like he's the linchpin. United scored 4 against. Was it 4 or 5?
5.
Yeah. Three of them were over the top, and one of them Fernandes was offside.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's
so. That's 1-1 if Calvin Phillips is playing for me.
But that's the point.
And that was my draw bet.
I think what Paul is saying is if they get the wrong injuries, if they get Bamford and Phillips, those 4-0s.
They haven't really bought either.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, interesting one to keep an eye on. I was really impressed with Bielsa last season though. Like they picked up points at the end of the season when everyone else was at the beach,
Yeah.
But we'll see. Right. Let's quickly check in on the app side of things. So we've kicked off a new NAP competition format this season. This season we've now got a weekly competition, a monthly competition, and a season-long competition. They all roll into each other. The NAP competition is based on 5 NAP predictions and 1 banker each week. So 6 picks every week. Sounds easy. 1 a day. Can you find 1 winning prediction a day? But let me tell you, it's a lot harder than that, as the 2 lads will
Testify.
agree. Yeah.
Harder for some.
Yeah.
On different weeks.
I've had a shocking start to the season myself. But let's just have a quick look here. So each week we're offering, there's just a 50 quid winner takes all on the weekly competition, 200 quid up for grabs in the monthly, and then 3 grand for the season competition. So as I said, 6 picks a week. It's not very time consuming if you want to get involved, and there are some other competitions as well. So we've got the all predictions competition, which is probably one of the worst names for a competition ever. But basically this is naps, bankers, and your standard competition, your standard predictions. And then we've got the banker competition as well. So this is just your banker picks, 1 pick a week, minimum odds 1.5, and there's 500 quid in the pot there as well. So yeah, check it out, and you can follow the lads and myself on the app as well, and see how you get on. Okie dokie. So, Enda, over to yourself.
First of all, shout out to our new subscribers. Stick with us, lads. What's the worst that can happen? Let's go. I have Palace, the bottom of the log. Like you were saying there earlier, they've lost so many players from last year. But even so, even that withstanding, like you look at the players they lost, the goalie Hennessy, Joel Ward, Scott Dann, James McCarthy, Andros Townsend, Van Herrenholt, they were all players. And I'm sure I've left someone out, one or two out there as well. Gary Cahill as well, yeah. They're all players. And not alone they've lost their manager, right? So not alone have they lost their manager and most of their team, they have a new manager, but they have a new style. So that doesn't work for me. It's too many new players, too many variables, basically. I think maybe Vieira is a long-term project, but I think he'll be gone by November. Next in line is Burnley, lads. I don't know how you don't mention them for relegation. Like one of listen to me now. Their football is a disease, but I will tell you why. They have one of the smallest squads, if not the smallest squad, right? The three worst teams for goals scored whereas them and two others. The two others, they were the third. The two others got relegated. Okay, they're up front. They're not too bad. The two boys, plus we'll say Rodriguez, you have Barnes and Chris Wood. They'll get you a certain amount of goals, but as in midfield, they've nothing to create. Dwight McNeil, that's it. They've bought no one. I think they bought Collins, right, because they thought someone would come in for Tarkowski. Tarkowski's on the last year of his contract. He'll probably just see it out and get a final payday for himself. Collins, Irish guy, there's good buzz about him, but I don't think he, unless they go to a 3, I don't see him getting much game time. That's the one signing they've made. Their fixture list isn't great either. Like after Liverpool, they have Newcastle. Newcastle give them a good going. They've Leeds, Everton, Arsenal, and Leicester. I could see them getting 2 draws possibly out of all those 5 games. Like,
yeah.
But so they're second to go down for me.
Yep.
I bet you they'll get 2 wins out of those 5 games.
How many forfeits can you do in one night, Paul? I'd love to see where they're going to get the wins out of.
Can't wait to play this back in a couple of weeks.
So basically, they have a terrible style of football. They have no signings, and like it's the same players doing the same thing. That's going, like you were saying about Southampton, it's going to burn out.
Yeah.
And I think they've reached their zenith. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah.
Next in line.
Sorry, Enda, I just want to come in. I want to come in on Burnley there. Now, I've been an advocate of Burnley, but basically an advocate of Dyche, right? I just think he's the miracle man that's been keeping them up for the past few seasons, and he's always found a way. Even when they hit their bad spells, he finds a way to kind of bring them back and get them winning games. Now, I do agree this season. I do feel they're definitely at risk. They've bought no one, like you said. I just think when you look up top, they have the lads who can score goals, and I think if they don't do a bit of business before the window closes, I'd be very worried about them now. Paul,
they were in for some lad from some winger, would you believe, from Leon. That's fine having a winger. Their central midfield is Puck, Jack Cork, and that's it. Like, and I do like Dwight McNeil. I do. And you saw the last day against Liverpool, he was the only shining light they had. But they had nothing. They were supposed to be in for Shaqiri, but they weren't offering enough money. That's the thing as well, is they don't want to spend money. I mean, look at the money Norwich has spent. Do you know what I'm saying? They got money for Gunn off of Norwich, all right.
Yeah.
So they should have a bit of they didn't spend hardly any money last year. No, for me, there's Palace definitely going down. Burnley definitely second to go down.
Yeah. How do you feel, Paul?
For those reasons.
Paul, do you think
no creativity?
Listen, I'll admit they don't have the biggest or best squad in the league, but like you said, the Sean Dyche factor, he's done fantastically well there, and he gets them. He's one of these managers, a bit like I don't want to liken him to Sam Allardyce, but he has a way of playing football, and I imagine as a player to play against Burnley, it must be a nightmare. Because he does what he needs to do with the resources available. And I think I listen. We all know what Enda thinks of Sean Dyche, but I think he's done a fantastic job there, and I think he's a very tactically astute manager. I would love to see him at a club where he had some resources or had a better, higher quality of player, and just to see how we do, because maybe he wouldn't do well.
That's the thinking that got Sam Allardyce the England job. How that turn out? That's the thinking that got Southgate the English job. And how long? No, he have success written about Southgate. I don't think so.
Clearly,
anyway.
somewhere along the line, Sean Dyche has wronged your family somehow.
No, he's wronged he's done a lot more than wrong my family. He's wronged football.
Yeah.
No, no more than Eddie Howe. Listen. I'll go back to Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe was supposed to be next Arsene Wenger, and he was English, so therefore, there was no Johnny Farner approach to it. He's brilliant. How did he turn out? When there was not 3 teams worse than Bournemouth, they went down. Now it's going to be the same with Burnley. When there's not 3 teams worse than them, they'll go down. That's not genius. But on the part of Sean Dyche, that's just having 3 teams that are worse.
I think the point Paul's making, I do see it. It's like, and it's what a good manager should do. You look at what you have available to you, and you do the best you can with that group. And I think he is doing that. If he went to another team, we won't know obviously unless he does. But if he went to like a Newcastle or a Villa or something like that, could he drive it on a notch? I think that's the question mark. Which
has he tried to do anything else with Burnley?
Yeah, but
he's no. Has he tried to bring in players and improve them?
He's no money.
No, he doesn't. I mean, and I don't fully understand why they don't have money to spend. I know there's kind of rumors of a takeover, and it's been going on for a while now. But they're a somewhat established Premier League club now. I don't believe they've ever been serious relegation contenders in the last couple of years. I think you'd always feel
they got to Europe one year, didn't they?
But yeah, well, exactly. This is the thing, and I mean, like I said, I'm not a religious man by any stretch. But if there is a God, he will be the next Liverpool manager, and I will.
How did he achieve that?
Would you stop? Would you?
But Enda, do you not give him kudos for that Europa League season, or do you give him any kudos at all?
What did he do? He went to Europe. He decided he couldn't afford it, and he threw it.
Yeah, but he got there.
Oh, delighted for him. He got there because everyone else was worse. It's like saying, it's like saying, Ole's at the wheel, man.
There's a blind spot.
Ole's at the wheel. We'll throw everything at him. How has that worked out?
We found Enda's blind spot.
How has that worked out? How has that worked out?
Okay.
So we're going to go on to my selections, boys, or we're still going to talk about
number 3.
Your love child, Sean Dyche there.
Number three.
Number 3, like Paul, I have Southampton. Southampton, but I can see where he's coming from with Norwich, right? Southampton, they're for sale. They have no investment in the squad, and they're like you were saying about Hasenhüttl. He's Klopp light, but he doesn't have the players to play Klopp style of football, and he has a smaller squad this time round.
Yeah,
like
James, what you're talking.
That they don't have a player that Liverpool actually want to sign at the moment.
You're so
very unusual for
you're so funny. I thought I hoped they were going to re-sign Danny Ings, but that didn't turn out well. Listen, they bought some sort of a left back. Your man Armstrong is good, and Shea Adams is decent, but I don't see them. That style of football they play is burned out, and I don't think it suits James Ward-Prowse. I don't think that style of football suits him.
Yeah.
And he's their main man in midfield. So for me, they're going down. But I can see where you're coming from. If Norwich don't pick up soon, they'll have again. But I just think Norwich have they've made the signs like their left back was awful against City. Like he was the cause of all the City goals nearly. So they brought in Williams. They've identified what they need to do. They brought in some good lads. Norwich, I'm saying, they brought in some good lads from the Bundesliga. And like I said, their keen sign for me is Billy Gilmore. He'll protect that back four sooner rather than later. But I see Southampton going down. I see them burning out and just going down.
So the interesting thing about your 3 then, or the none of them are promotion teams that were promoted. So you're saying 3.
Are they not? All right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In fact, none of
No,
us
that's
to date have mentioned Brentford. Which
no.
is,
I have Brentford actually. I have
to date.
I have Brentford. So I went further because obviously I'm better at researching than Ollie. I went further. Then I went up the table and I went Brentford, Brighton, Watford, Wolves, just above the relegation.
Yeah. So who's your sort of who could be pulled into it? Like of the kind of more established teams, is there anyone at risk? Like Paul went for Leeds.
Well, I was going to say Arsenal, but Paul made a valid point. They'll get to Christmas and fire fucking Arteta, and they'll bring in someone, and they'll be topper half of the lower tier. The other team I think that will be involved in that is Wolves.
Yeah.
You might not be a million miles off the mark there with Wolves.
I don't think their manager is up to it. They haven't made any signings that I can see, and they were struggling last year. And I think there might be one or two. Like they have an awful lot on your man Jimenez, and I don't think he's the same player. It was a couple of times the last I was watching their bits of their game the last day. It was a couple of times he could have gone for a header and he let it drop to his foot. Now you wouldn't blame him. The guy has a fractured skull, but when you're dependent on him to lead the line, could be trouble.
I think keeping Neves is key to them. Yeah. I think if they're to lose him in this window, I don't think they'd reasonably be able to replace him, regardless of what fee they get with it. Like
okay.
I think when is the transfer window over? Like, is it next? Was it Monday or Tuesday? Is it? Or
I think it's 2 weeks. Is it?
I think it's the 3rd of September.
It's
3rd of
September.
Like a
week and a half or something like that.
Because in fairness, most of it's probably done now, bar maybe Kane to City, but
yeah. Okay, guys, that's pretty much it. The 3 I had were Southampton, so we've all said Southampton. I had Watford, which none of you guys have. So you guys are.
I think they'll be thereabouts, but
I think they'll probably be. Yeah, they'll be 2, maybe 3 points off. 2, maybe 3 places off it. If they've made decent signings, like they've brought in Josh King, he's a proven he's an okay player, but he's a proven Premiership performer. Like, put it that way. They got Danny Rose on a free. They bought some midfielder from Club Brugge and some fella from Nantes, and they still have Sarr and Hernandez.
Yeah,
I think if they hold on to Sarr, I would love Liverpool putting a bid for him, to be honest. But if they hold on to Sarr, United were in for him there, was supposedly last year and the year before. Yeah. If they hold on to Sarr, and even if they don't, I think they have enough there.
Yeah,
to be. I just think there's 3 worse teams than them. So
he's probably the next Mane type mold. So
people
will be hoping that they.
Here's a question. Here's a question for you, and I'll be honest. I had to actually check it out in Wikipedia. Who's Watford's manager these days?
I don't honestly.
There you go. Honestly, they changed their manager so frequently that it is hard to keep up with it. And that
remember Chico Martinez Flores, or whatever his name was. Yeah, he had them in the top half of the table, and they fired him.
Yeah, and Jokanovic, I think might have been there. Yeah. There's actually
it's Jokanovic. Is it
Cisco?
Cisco? Yeah.
Yeah, it's I can't actually recall it off
the merry-go-round.
So Southampton, and then I went Brentford. I just think Brentford will probably do a Norwich, first season syndrome, see what it's all about. I don't think they have enough to stay up. Good manager, some decent players, but probably ultimately not enough. And I've gone Watford, similar, based on what you guys have just said, kind of new manager, a team of signings, I think is what they have. Like, they just sign all these random players. I think they'll go down as well. So let's revisit that maybe at Christmas and see how we're all getting on.
Yeah.
But that's it for now, lads. We'll be back again next week with a new topic. So thanks for tuning in, all 26 subscribers. We appreciate it.
Like and share.
But yeah, we'll see you next week, guys. All right.
Laters.
Ciao.